have in my possession a very tall stack of books. This stack represents every single fiction book written by Michael Crichton under his own name. He wrote quite a few nonfiction books, as well as a ton of books under pen names, but these are all of the books that he wrote under his own name that are fiction. I've been working on this collection for a long time because I got my first couple of Michael Crichton books secondhand, and I've only gotten them secondhand since. So I've been chipping away at getting ones that I've been missing only by going to, like, secondhand bookstores. I didn't originally set out to get every single one, because when I first dipped my toe into reading Michael Crichton, he was not yet my favorite author. But then I just kept getting more and reading more and rereading the ones I already had, and eventually I realized I was only missing 3. So I decided to check eBay to get the last 3 that I was missing, and the last one came today. So I now have all 17 books, and this includes the ones that were published posthumously, which we may or may not count. One was finished by someone else, another one was found, like, years later, and then published in 2017, so questionable on those 2, but the rest are the genuine article. I really couldn't tell you why Michael Crichton's my favorite author. He just is, and it's kind of by default at this point, because of obvious reasons. There's just something about his writing style that hooks me immediately. And I'm aware it's not a hot take to say Michael Crichton is a good writer, or at the very least a popular one. He wrote very popular books, very popular movies, a long-running TV show. It's certainly not highbrow. It's not the fanciest thing anyone's ever read in their entire life. And the books are not without fault, especially the later ones when he decided, what if I used my fiction as a vehicle to go on political tirades? And I am planning on making a more in-depth video discussing all of the everything about the books, doing a more in-depth analysis that way. But for me as a reader, writing style is really important. Very often I will be turned off by a book, even if I'm compelled by it, even if I am intrigued by the story, if the writing style just doesn't click. If the writing style scratches whatever itch is in my brain, I will devour that thing. If it doesn't, then it's like a slog for me to get through whatever you're reading. Writing. Sorry, I'm the one reading. Like, I started reading Babel by R.F. Kuang a couple of months ago, and I got, like, 2 chapters in, and I still haven't gone back. Even though, by description, I really should be into Babel. You know, it's like dark academia, linguistics, fantasy. These are all things I enjoy. I'm just not hooked by the prose, and maybe I need to give it more time. I don't know. I didn't finish reading Dune because I just couldn't get past how much I hated the writing style. Sorry to Frank Herbert. Like, I thought the story was really cool. I hated Paul, and, like, I'm aware that that's the point. I just could not get past how much I did not vibe with Frank Herbert's writing style. I was like, I should like this. I love lore-heavy fantasy. I like political intrigue. I love sci-fi. It has all of the stuff, and yet I couldn't finish it because I couldn't get past how much I hated the writing. Michael Crichton wrote in such a way that I'm just hooked immediately. I'm always immediately drawn in, even on the ones where I ultimately am not the biggest fan of that particular book. I'm just glued to the page from start to finish. Even after I have, you know, qualms or criticisms or hesitations, I still am just hooked because of the style of his writing. I also really like I said, jargon-heavy sci-fi. I like thrillers. I like drama. I like when we are talking about dinosaur DNA and I get to see all the ACTGs on the page, okay? I like when we're talking about graphs and code and data and we get to see it on the page. I think that's fun. I think the premises are really cool. I like speculative fiction. What would happen if we reconstructed dinosaur DNA? What happens if we use quantum physics to travel back to medieval France? What if an alien microorganism landed on the planet? What happens if we find a spaceship from the future under the ocean that's been there for 300 years? What then? And like I said, the last book came in today, literally today, so I haven't read all of them. And some of them are relatively new to me. Of the 17, I've read 11. So I still have 6 I have to finish. I'm working on one right now. And, you know, normally my tastes are more refined, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I'm not... My favorite thing usually isn't the popular thing. Sometimes it is. Like, my favorite band is well known in certain circles. They're a very popular band, and yet I meet so many people who have never heard of them. Anyway, but in this case, I could maybe name books that are better written. I could name things that I've reread more times. Actually, probably not. I think Jurassic Park is my most reread book. I could name things that maybe gripped me more, or had good endings, or weren't politically questionable. I could do all of that, but god damn it, I like the schlock, alright? Plus, I'm a collector. I like to collect things, I like to be surrounded by trinkets and knickknacks, and yes, potentially that's related to my hoarding tendencies, but I like having complete sets of things. I like having all of the everything. I just like having full sets, you know? Even with dice, I do my best to get full sets every time. I only have a couple that are stragglers, that are, you know, loners. And I got a lot of these at a thrift store, so I had to sit with their dice jar and sift through until I found complete sets. And I know that's maybe a little neurotic, okay? I'm aware that I could have just looked at the top and found a couple of cool ones, maybe like pawed through just a little bit and found some ones that looked cool. But I will sit there and just find a complete set. The point of which being, I like having all of them. Do I love all of them? As physical objects that I surround myself with, obviously. Obviously I love each and every single one of them. Do I love all of them as books? Perhaps no. Even with your absolute favorite thing, if you love it enough, you'll love it enough to see the flaws. You'll love it enough to see the things that maybe aren't perfect. I have reread Jurassic Park every single summer since I bought it. Am I aware that the ending is very weak? Yes. Yes, I am. I'm so keenly aware of that fact. It just sort of stops, and most of Michael Crichton's books just sort of stop. They just sort of end, or they resolve themselves. There are a couple that don't. There are a couple that have extremely good endings, but I will be the first to admit that not all of the books are perfect, especially the later books, where it just sort of turns into a soapbox moment. Like, did we really need next? Did we really need an entire book to tell us that patenting sections of the human genome is wrong? Maybe not. But am I gonna read it? You bet your ass. Anyway, the point of all of this was to share that I've completed my collection. I've caught them all. Now I just have to read them all. And then I can force the internet to host. I was gonna say force people to watch, but no. Force the internet to host an overly long analysis of everything once I get there. So, here's to completing the set.